Hi, my name's Ben and it's Baby Loss Awareness Week. At Sands United Cardiff, we're going to be talking a range of subjects. The subject I'm talking about today is friendships and how you maintain those relationships when you lose a child. So my wife and myself, we lost our daughter Phoebe at 30 weeks. She died of a condition, pleural bilateral infusion. She was stillborn on the 14th of October 2015, so she would have been 4 this year. So I suppose with friendships and maintaining those relationships, I suppose in normal life during when you haven't been through the loss of a child, it's quite hard to maintain relationships with friends anyway, because obviously people are busy and life is busy. But obviously when you're dealing with a situation like the loss of a child, which obviously is sometimes still regarded as maybe a little bit of a taboo subject, it's hard for people to approach it. So sometimes the person who has lost that child, if there's not an open space where they feel they can talk about, it can create a little bit of a wedge between people. So that's what I found that with friends. I've got old friends, old school friends that I reached out to during the time when Sarah was pregnant and after, through grieving. When I reached out to them and used it as sort of platform just to get things off my chest through social media, or maybe speaking to them, or just going for a drink. Um, yeah, there's old friends there which I found that their support was very helpful, and they guided me through obviously what was a very difficult time. So yeah, with friendships, that's I suppose it's keeping that relationship going and having that understanding of what the other person is going through. And I found that obviously with the subject of losing a child, it's sometimes hard for people to approach that, and sometimes that can, as I said, cause a wedge between friends. So if I suppose me personally, being the person who's been affected by losing a child, sometimes that maybe not through the fault of of the other person, the other friend. Sometimes I would get offended by certain things being said, or things maybe not being said, and then sometimes that can cause a bit of friction there. So I find that when you have friendships, and if you have someone who has lost a child, is to try and be as open with them about the subject. Try and approach it. Obviously, talk to them about it. Ask some questions, because I find that personally myself, if someone wants to know something about Phoebe and wants me to tell him, I will give them as much information as they want to hear, really, because she was my daughter, and I loved her very much, and still do love her. I think it's that sort of with friends, it's having that sort of that open conversation about it, and them having that understanding of obviously not just burying it, because sometimes that can cause that wedge between friends. So yeah, I think, but then with because it was with old friends, it was easier to approach. It was easier to talk to, because they've known you through school, worked with you for a long time, so it was easy to sort of talk about those things. I think with work friends, again, it's tough to approach a situation, talk about it. So, and it's I would say personally, it's only been recently, with work colleagues and work friends. I've talked about the situation and talked about obviously the loss of Phoebe, and I would say that's probably down to sort of the other members of Sands United Cardiff, because obviously talking to them and them saying how sometimes forthright they are with talking about the loss of their child, and who their child was, and what they meant to them. So I found I've got a bit of confidence from that side of it, from being part of Sands United Cardiff, that confidence to maybe approach the situation with new people. Not so much old friends, as I said. With them, I've had that sort of that platform to speak to them and to obviously get things off my chest about Phoebe. But with work friends, obviously, because you even though you work with them day in day out, sometimes they're there to work, and you obviously talk about situations around work. But yeah, I do talk about it quite openly and freely now in work, and I get quite good conversations going. I had a conversation with one of my work colleagues actually the other day about it, and about obviously Phoebe, and she wasn't aware that I'd lost a child, my work colleague, yeah, so it was a nice conversation, and it was great to sort of share my views on obviously how important it is to talk about the loss of a child. So the best advice I can give is to have these conversations. Let your friends know it's okay to speak about these things, to talk about your child that you've lost, because your child is important to you, and you want to hear his or her name. Um, and I think a lot of that, the confidence from the Sands United group, we have a WhatsApp group, and a lot of these conversations are being had, and that sort of confidence from that is overspilling then to go out there and have a conversation with your friends, to let them know it is okay to talk about these things. And I think that's where the I suppose I talk about a wedge. That's where the wedge would be taken out, because you feel that those conversations are being had, and it makes you feel a lot comfortable. Okay, thank you.